Okay, how do we get started? All right, getting started is probably the most complex thing in building any type of integrated campaign. I mean, you have many ideas, you have many thoughts, and you figure out, well, let's see, what's our objective, what are our goals, how do we then take the different assets we have and the different tactics that we use, and how do we make it happen? If you go back in time, which, not that long ago, because we move so fast, but then it was much simpler to do an integrated marketing campaign. You had print, you had collateral, you had trade shows, and then maybe some type of videos. You didn't have much to choose from, but you worked it all. The printing press people read magazines. People just, they didn't look at the process on how do you view things. They weren't online. You went to a printer, you ran an ad, you looked at a magazine, you looked at collateral, you watched a video that was maybe an hour long on how to do something. But now it's a lot different. Look on the opposite side of the fence. Okay, we have direct mail. We have everything from social media to organic search to paid search. We have multimedia. We have interactive media. We have online advertising. We have print advertising. We have everything. We go from there. We can go to a world of different acronyms. We can go to SEO, CRM, CPL, DAM. All these different type of initials, and it's going to keep going and going and going and going. It's going to keep moving faster and faster and faster. And we have to keep a pulse of how we do things. But at the end of the day, what's our challenge? Okay, our challenge as marketers, as professional salespeople, as product developers, as marketing communications people, it's to increase our brand awareness. Okay, it's to drive that revenue, and at the end, it's to really develop that sales channel and make the sale at the end of the day. So how do you decide what to do? I mean, how do you evaluate your tactical approach? What type of different assets do you use? How do you know which ones are the right ones? How do you know what's going to work, and how do you know what's not going to work? How do you know what's going to work to your audience? How do you decide? How do you really make that decision? How do you take the right objective and strategies, create that process, set the goals, and then push it out there to your audience? So how do you decide? You really don't. They decide. Okay? Michael decides. Okay? The engineers decide. All right? You have to look at your audience and you have to figure out, who are they? Who's the audience that you're trying to hit? Are they your customers? Are they your potential customers? Are they your existing customers? Are they customers that you want to change a different direction with, or an attitude, or you want to make them realize something? Is there somebody out there that you want to make them more knowledgeable on products that you already use? Is there an untapped resource within the engineering community that you want to get at? I mean, all these things keep arising as the days go on and as the different market trends start setting and the different challenges come up. But these are people who you're spending most of your time with. These are people who you're spending your strategy development, you're spending your budgets with, okay? Because at the end of the day, once again, you want those people to be your brand advocate. You want people to talk about you. You want them to follow you. You want them to support your products, your solutions, and you want to make that sale. You want to shorten that sales cycle. You want to get in front of them, you want to stay in front of them, and you want to make sure that they stay with you and come back. But there's one key element that you have to understand when you say, who are they, okay? And that's, you need to know your audience. How does your audience prefer to consume the information, okay? How do the engineers, Mike had mentioned, a little bit on how they want to learn about things, but how do they learn about your products and your solutions today? What works for them? You have various age groups out there. You have varied experience. You have global reach. I don't know how many companies here are global. We're a global company. And what we do in North America, we don't necessarily do in Europe, or in Asia Pacific South, or in Asia Pacific North. Or you break it down even further. In Asia Pacific South, what we do in China, we don't necessarily do in India. You know, everybody has different ways of learning. Everybody has different ways of wanting to understand what's out there, wanting to understand what's available to them, wanting to understand what they can do to make their jobs more successful and profitable. Okay, you have to learn about the industry, the products, and the solutions. So you have to drive that. You have to drive that to your audience. You want to make them obtain the information, and you want to know where they obtain that information. And then you want to know how they're going to purchase. Okay, how are they going to make that purchase decision? What kind of information do they value? What you think that they value isn't necessarily what they might want to value. So don't always go on what you feel are your best instincts, okay? What are their objectives, and what are your objectives? Their objective is trying to achieve something, okay? They need to work their magic for their customers to create the right type of products that is going to make their campaign successful with their customers, or they're going to make their company successful and make them profitable. What are your objectives, though? Are you trying to build a brand? Are you trying to get messaging across? Are you trying to make them follow you? Are you trying to make them decide on your product? All these strategies and objectives all are developed within your program and your plan. When you make your IMC, your integrated marketing campaign work, you've got to take all that into consideration. So, we're going to talk about the circle of IMC. Now I'm going to take this a little bit different. So instead of telling you how to develop a program, which I said we'll talk about that a little bit more on the panel, we're going to talk about how do you know what you're developing? Okay, how do you know your audience? Okay, because the most important thing is to look at the ways that enable you to look at your audience. These influencers are going to help you develop your campaign. It's going to help you track your campaigns. They're going to help you readjust your campaigns. They're going to help you take your campaigns to the next level. And they're going to help you look back, and they're going to help you prove results, metrics, measurements, and ROI. So I'm going to go through about 7 or 8 steps, one by one. I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of them. And if you have any questions, jot them down, and we could talk about them more when we sit at the panel. Okay, so the first one we have is primary research. Media partners, social media, web analytics, A&B testing, sales and product management, and historical data. So let's take a look a little bit about primary research. Listen to the data, not your gut. That's kind of what we follow. It's kind of like my little saying, because when you think about it, you know, you always have a gut feeling. You work at a company, and the company you work at, you're like, well, we know how this works. Okay, we know exactly what they want. You're too close. You're too close to your company. You're too close to your job. You're too close to your product. Yeah, you do know it. You know it internally. You don't know it externally. Okay? Take the opportunity, if you can, to conduct some primary research. Understand what's out there. Conduct a survey. You know, understand how the caliber of the person that you're talking to, your customer, where they're at, what level that they're at. What do they want to know? Okay, what type of mediums do they look at? Do they find it valuable? I mean, if you could take a look over here, a lot of these things are done from the things that we've done before, but you look at information sources. You know, this happens to be our Brad product line up here, which is an automation product, industrial automation, and Woodhead down here, which is electrical engineering type product. So you're dealing with engineers, you're dealing with plant engineers, you're dealing with design engineers, you're dealing with electrical engineers, you're dealing with all the groups, you know, that really cover the engineering community. But if you look at the different ways that they look at things, you know, if I were to say, okay, put down a campaign together, and you get together with a group of people, your internal group, and you say, okay, we're going to spend this much money, and we're going to do this type of trade advertising. We're going to do a horizontal trade ad, we're going to do an online, and we're going to do a print. And we're going to do this much in videos. We're going to do webcasts, okay? Is that the way the engineers want to learn? Okay, this allows you, if you can have that example or that opportunity to take a survey, and they don't have to be very detailed, and they don't have to be very expensive. Okay, but go out there and see the way they want to learn. This survey shows right here and I know everybody here loves this, sales representatives. Okay? Now, all of us in marketing, and excuse me for the salespeople in here, we don't want to listen to sales representatives, right? They don't know what they're talking about. Well, that's totally untrue, okay? That's totally untrue, okay? They do know what they're talking about. They're the guys who are out there every day talking to your customers. Okay, so that shows that. And Michael, you even said something earlier where you said you had lunch and learns, okay? Let me tell you, engineers thrive on lunch and learns. They thrive on instructional meetings and learning about the product. That's what they want. They want to be taught. Okay, think about their background. They're very educational based. They're very, very regimented. They want to learn. They love to learn. Salespeople provide that opportunity when they're out there. So look at your salespeople. We look at our salespeople, and we create more programs for them to teach the engineer. Some of the other things, you've got the trade publications. If you look down here, which, and this will be talked about later, but you see social media down here. This is very low. This, by the way, this is about a year, not over, about a year old. Brian, we did this about a year ago, right? About a year old, a little over a year old. Social media was very low at that time. Okay, this was for the electrical product line. The electrical engineers there weren't that much into social media. I could tell you today that's gone from 2 to 4% to about 18 to 22% in 1 year with the electrical engineers. And that'll keep rising. So once again, if you have that opportunity, do some primary research. Our media partners, okay, why we're here today, right? Our media partners, a wealth of information. Don't underestimate your media partners, especially today. Years and years ago, when I started in the business, everybody was out to make a buck within the media world. Now you notice all the different media partners that we had 20 years ago, 10 years ago, have consolidated, have dwindled down, have closed down. You know, the rich, the educated ones strive, and they make it forward. And they do that for specific reasons, and they do that under good pretense because they know what they're talking about. Okay, your media partners spend all of their time trying to understand our customers because our customers are their customers. So they want to be the #1 source. Okay, so whether it's an online publication or a printed publication, they want to be the #1 source to the engineer. So if they want to be the #1 source, they're doing a heck of a lot of research. They're understanding the engineer a lot quicker and a lot deeper than we'll ever do it. So rely on good media partners. Present company excluded. No, I'm just kidding. No. But they provide the most relevant information to our customers. Okay, they come up with statistics. They give you the statistics. Don't underestimate those statistics. Okay, and spend time and talk to them. Talk to the publishers. Talk to the Steves. Talk to the Jims. Okay, they know what they're talking about. Talk to the editors. The editors are out there all the time. They're out there talking to engineers up and down. How do you think they come up with the editorial that they do? I mean, they don't create these editorials just because they want to talk about something. They create editorial content because of what's relevant out there. And they support that. So use them. Use them to understand your audience. Social media. Okay, I know Jim and Steve, who are going to be giving a presentation later, are going to dive more into social media, so I'm going to just kind of surface it a little bit. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Youku, Weibo, Google+, blogging, etc., 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 etc. I just sat in a conference about 3 weeks ago on social media. I think there were about 18 more social media outlets and networks that I never heard of from 2 weeks before that have arisen. And they keep outdoing each other, okay? That's the wave of the future. How long it will last, when it will slow down, I have no idea. If I were able to tell that, I'd be a multimillionaire. But it's all about involvement, making that connection. Making the connection with your audience, and your audience making the connection with their peers. and other industry experts, sharing information with each other, okay? Talking with each other. You know, there's no better conversation, and it's social. If you think of the word social media, it is social. It's talking with each other. And if you really want to hear somebody and you really want to take the word or advice, you go to a peer before you go to somebody who is an authoritative figure. Because the peer, in the regular social relevance of everyday life, has a tendency to tell you a lot clearer and a lot more direct than if you go to an expert. Because the expert is always questioned twice, divided in half, and then they take a little bit of the relevance out of it. Social media is up and coming, that's the way it is. It's the exchange of the information world. It's only going to get faster, okay? Mobile, we haven't even touched mobile. Mobile is the future of everything. I mean, I have our salespeople, they come back and they sit down with myself or our whole group and they'll say, we need mobile apps. And you're like, okay, what mobile apps do you need? I don't know, but we need mobile apps. Everybody's using mobile apps. And I'm saying, well, an app is an app. That's all it is. It's the information, the content that's important. You know, but at least they're on the right track. They're seeing the engineers using the mobile phones. They're seeing them count on apps to find information out. So that's the way we're going with social media. This will allow you to build your brand loyalty, have people follow you. They'll become brand advocates a lot quicker than any other tactic that's out there today. Web analytics. The figures don't lie, people. I mean, look at web analytics. The major way that you want to reach your audience is through various marketing communication tactics. What do you want to do with that? You want to drive them to your website. To me, the biggest competitor today are people's websites. You know, it's funny, but you know, Molex is a $3.5 billion worldwide company. We have 35,000 employees. We have plants all over the world. We have design and research manufacturing facilities located all over the world. We have clients like, I mean, not half of you, there's about 6 people in here who are our clients and our customers. Apple is our biggest customer today. Yet, the president, the CEO, the executive board, they're so concerned with how many people go to our website. Okay, because it's the website that is the wealth of information. And if you use your tactics correctly, you can drive people to their website. Once they're at the website, there's all kinds of things you can do. And for another subject is a marketing automation platform. And we've instituted that about 1.5 years ago. And I'd be more than happy after this to tell you how that works. But if you drive somebody to your website, you could follow and you could nurture that engineer to a sale, and you could prove an ROI. The world of ROI has now taken surface. And if it keeps going the way it is, very soon the question that we all get in, what's the return on investment? You're spending all this money, what do we get back? The basic metrics and measurements are starting to go out the window, and the actual return is starting to surface. And we're starting to be able to start to show that with some of the things we do. But listen to the analytics. If you don't do analytics, any type of Google Analytics on your website today, please try and do that. That will help direct and foster what you do. The different tactics, you could track them. You could follow, if you do a print ad, you could make sure that you track that on the website. If you do a series of ads, say in June, July, and August, watch the rise, decline, or steadiness of your website. Take that ad, put a unique URL on it. Follow that URL. You'll be able to track that. It's not difficult to do. And that's a great way to go to your management and say, look, see what I'm doing? It's working. When I don't do it, it doesn't work. So I need more money. Okay? But refine your program as you look at the analytics. Here's another method, A and B testing. Okay, the objective is to get your audience to take action in any type of a tactic, especially in an advertising campaign. This happens to be an online advertising campaign that we did that was more of a brand building campaign. But what we did is we worked with our agency, Moveo, and we came up with 2 different ways of doing this. We went to 2 competing magazines. We did A, which is at the top, and B at the bottom. And these were directed to design engineers. What we did is we ran at the same time, the same circulation, basically, population, and then we tracked it. We did the click-throughs, we did how many people went to the website, how many pages were opened, how many interests happened to it, and we found out that the top one got approximately 85% more reaction than the bottom one, which told us our engineers didn't like the pretty pictures. The messaging is pretty much the same, but they were intrigued by the build of the message. Okay, so there's a lot you can do when you do A/B testing, and you could do A/B testing in print, you could do it in online, you could do it in a direct email campaign, you could do it in webinars, you could present webinars different ways, you could present white papers, you could present thought leadership articles in different ways, and you could do the test. Very simple to do. It just takes a little bit of planning. See which message delivery is the most effective, and then build on it. Create the right team. Okay, you're all in this room. That's why I asked who you are. Okay, never underestimate the pulse out on the street. Once again, as much as us marketers don't want to believe the salespeople, we've got to. Okay, because they're the guys that are face to face. Put the team together. All right, this team should get together in any type of an integrated campaign. They should be the group that sits together and takes ownership of the campaign. In our world, the days of my group putting together a campaign are gone. We have a system that I developed when I first got to Molex where it's a campaign outline, an integrated marketing communications campaign, integrated marketing campaign, however you want to state it. We have a marketing communications champion, we have a product champion, we have a sales champion, and then we have a business development champion, and we have a distribution sales champion. That's the way our structure is. One representative from each group. You create the objectives, you create the goals, you create the strategy, you have everybody buy in on it, and if you all come to an agreement, they'll all work together. You know, how many of you have put together a campaign that you've worked with product management and the sales team doesn't support it? Or nothing really happens on the sales side of it. You go, gee, what happened? Why didn't that work? Or vice versa. The sales team comes to you, you put together a campaign with sales, and the product people don't support it. It's like pulling teeth to get product involvement. You've got to overcome that. You've got to work together. If they all have a stake in it, it'll work. It will definitely work. Lastly but not least, historical data. This is a very interesting chart. This is an actual chart that we've put together, spend versus content engagement. If you see down at the bottom the colors, you've got paid search, you have online banners, you have e-news sponsorship, value-added activities, and just other activities, whether they'd be direct mail or something like that. And we tracked from July through December on one of the campaigns that we did at Molex. It's an industry campaign. We do all of our campaigns based on industry because we're involved in about 18 different industries on a global basis. So what we did is we tracked based on the different type of tactics at the bottom and our spend. And you can see in July, we began spending. In August, our visitors to the website went up, and they kept going through September. We spent more in September, it rose in September. Then we started to drop. We stopped spending. And you could see our visitors started to drop. Try to look at some type of a system that you could do this with too. It's great to present to management, especially once again at budget time when you're asking for money. Well, we're not going to give you that amount of money for advertising. That's a lot of money. We spend money, okay? We spend money and nobody thinks we bring money in. Okay, but that's not true. It's things like that that prove it. And this is just one facet of a small campaign in one region that we did. We are now beginning to report like this, and our fiscal year starts in July, so in FY, we're working right now with, Moveo is actually working on this with us, and so is our public relations agency. We're putting together a whole process on how we present this ROI. And it's going to show in black and white, and we're going to say, when you do this, look what happens. When you don't do this, look what doesn't happen. So, historical data. Capture the historical data. So, these are just some of the things that I wanted to talk about, and that's really just trying to understand your audience and know your audience. And then use that information, look back on what you've done, refine, redefine, make sure everybody is involved. Make sure you have that group. Make sure you have the core group. Make sure you have product people and sales people, industry people, however your organization is developed. Make sure you look at it not only on a regional basis. If you're a global company, make sure you look at it globally. When you develop these programs, even if you're starting in one region, think about the other regions, because they will expand into the other regions. All right? So if you have any questions, I think we could just do it at the table, if that's okay. And thanks for your time, and I hope you learned a little bit today from me.